whether you're wearing an outfit or not, you can still fight, because you are still you. Even when stripped down to your underpants, you can still fight. For you are a person of bravery. In Ghosts and Goblins. I was going to do this little skit at the beginning where I was going to throw a wooden javelin, but I've done a few too many takes at this point, so I'm not doing that again. If I keep that up, I'm gonna put a goddamn hole in my wall. But anyway, yeah, that's why I'm naked today. Because, yeah, cosplaying as a character from this series. I have a very love-hate relationship with this series, Ghosts and Goblins. I mean, I'm not a particularly big fan of a lot of different design choices throughout these games. However, at the same time, I do love it a lot. I mean, for one, it started in 1985, and for the most part, it got a recent remaster in 2021, but I wouldn't exactly consider that a proper revival, unlike what happened with Wonder Boy. I mean, if you've watched my Wonder Boy video, then you know that Wonder Boy was initially inspired by Ghosts and Goblins. And as a kind of respect, they had the whole fucking, towel thing at the beginning of Monsterland. Wonder Boy Monsterland. But that aside, this series is full of copy-pastes and a lot of, repetition, it feels like. Princess Prin, basically the Tanya, to King Arthur's, Wonder Boy, gets kidnapped exactly the same number of times, coincidentally. Yes, 5. Still not as many times as Princess Peach, obviously. And, definitely not, hell, it's kind of ridiculous. 5 times! In a fucking row! How does that even happen? Well, anyway. But also there's a good creative factor to these games as well, that, really just carries with it a good, a good time. This is also one of Capcom's first franchises. It's one of the ones that really put them on the map in terms of, their first big franchises. Sure, they'd had things like Vulgus and, other, games before this. Commando and blah, 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 blah. But this was the first franchise that really became a mainstay. One that they would get, a lot of sequels and a lot of, just become a general frontrunner series for them. And it all started all the way back in 1985, and it kept going and it was actually pretty well treated for a while. It kept going from 1980s all the way to, the tail end of the 2000s in 2009. So, pretty good run. But then when the 2010s hit, everything just kind of went poof, gone. With only one real, gambling machine to its name. Released in the 2010s, and then we got a recent remaster of the first game in 2021. But I still wouldn't exactly take that as an indicator that the series is being revived. More like just getting, I don't know, some cheap way to preserve it, I guess. Look, I don't like to talk shit about Capcom or Sega, but this is kind of ridiculous, guys. But that being said, I do also love many different parts of this series at the same time. But I should warn you that if you're going to play these games for yourself, they are hard. Some people have called it Dark Souls for 90s kids, and that's a very accurate description. These games are fucking hard. Especially don't play the remaster on Legend Mode unless you like getting game overs. I've seen some people have literal, hundreds of death counts in a single playthrough at a time. It's not easy. But anyway. But all that aside, that's my love-hate relationship with this series described. Now then, shall we actually get into the video proper? The Firebrand prequel trilogy features the character, well, Firebrand. It consists of, and in this order, Gargoyle's Quest 2, Gargoyle's Quest, and Demon's Crest, or Demon's Blazon as it's called in Japan. Yeah, this series, it's also called Makaimura Gaiden in Japan, but yeah. These series, like this prequel trilogy is, well, clunky as hell. It can't seem to keep its own continuity straight, and it feels like we're talking about a different Firebrand each and every single game, which just is stupid as hell. Look, I'm not a particularly big fan of these. It doesn't help that they were all released on Nintendo consoles. They were all like half-finished localizations. I mean, I don't know if the Japanese version keeps its continuity straight or anything, but I should hope so. But Jesus Christ, these localizations are bad. Holy shit. But that being said, and God, I hate to admit this, but Demon's Crest / Demon's Blazon was a really good game, alright? It was also kind of the ending to this little prequel trilogy of Firebrand games. It was more of a Metroidvania than it was. It also featured you being able to fly over the RPG-esque map, and just in general, being able to backtrack, you know, get collectibles, all that Metroidvania goodness. I do find it hilarious, though, how, in the ending of Demon's Crest, in the true ending, it's just like, I have now become a warrior amongst warriors. I am now the mightiest of them all. I now go in search of a true battle with a true warrior. And then, like, immediately at the beginning of the next game, at least in the remaster, gets his ass whooped by fucking Daddy Arthur over here. And he's just like, Daddy, no! Like, immediately, like, first mini-boss of the fucking game. In some rundown, ramshackle-ass church. He straight up hoed this motherfucker. So, like, what was even the point of this prequel trilogy? To see one guy's story before he got his ass fucking whooped? Like, are we just trying to detail how much of a Giga Chad King Arthur is? Well, whatever. Now here we go. This is pretty much the meat and potatoes of Ghosts and Goblins lore. Ghosts and Goblins proper, or Makaimura as it's called over in Japan. Now basically Makaimura means Demon World Village over in Japan, and if you were translating here. So, yeah. Princess Prin / Lady Guinevere, and, you know, Sir Arthur, not King Arthur, but, Sir Arthur, is, are in a romantic, relationship and all that. Blah, 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 blah. So, I don't really know what the hell this Arthur does in his spare time when he's not rescuing the princess, but it's implied he does something, I don't know. But, yeah. But, the first game in this, his era is Ghosts and Goblins / Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection, which is pretty much just the, the 2021 remaster. But I think the remaster is really worth a playthrough if you're, if you don't mind dying a lot. But if you can get past that, it's a fun time. Just as hard as the original, if not harder. Classic. But yeah, let's Ghosts and Goblins, you know, the first game. The next game would, of course, be Ghouls and Ghosts, which happens 3 years after the events of this game, of Ghosts and Goblins. And it also happens to, you know, yeah, it turns out Night Arthur's back from doing whatever the hell he does, just in time to see Lady Guinevere / Princess Prin get murdered right in front of him. Yeah, okay, that got dark real fast. So we see, like, I guess he's got a resurrected body or some shit, and yeah. I don't really follow exactly what's going on in this game, but I do know that, like, the kingdom was being attacked and she got shot through the heart with some sort of laser beam shit, so... Anyway. That game also got a port for the the Sega Genesis and Sega Master System. I think it was also for the PC Engine. So, and it also, as well as, in addition to getting a, you know, re-release on the Sega Saturn, well, actually, technically speaking, Ghosts and Goblins, Ghouls and Ghosts, and the next game, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, all got a re-release on the Sega Saturn. They're definitely worth your time if you want to play them. But of course, don't expect them to be translated or anything. Because technically it's a Makaimura over there, and it's a Japan only port. But anyway. Super Ghouls and Ghosts picks up where this game left off almost immediately, with, you know, the kingdom throwing Night Arthur a celebration party and fireworks and all that cool shit. He rendezvous with Princess Prin, they hug, and then she immediately gets her ass fucking stolen. Again. Jesus fucking Christ, can we have like 5 seconds alone, please? Can we give these two a room for like 5 seconds without somebody invading the privacy? Shit, man. Anyway. But, yeah. That's how Super Ghosts and Goblins, Super Ghouls and Ghosts goes. Let's see. And I hate to admit it, but this game was reasonably well designed. But anyway. Makaimura for Wonder Swan is the next game in the timeline. And while it might sound like something, you know, it might sound like I'm getting mixed up, it's not actually the original game. Now, if you don't know, the Wonder Swan is basically, I believe it's actually from from Bandai Namco, who made this console. Capcom had a lot of different games on this particular console, from, you know, from a variety of Mega Man games to, you know, a few other, you know, I think, like, yeah, I mean, there were a lot, but they're not coming to mind right now. All you need to know is that, the Wonder Swan was a fun little console. Black and white entirely. Well, at least the one that most Capcom games were on, but it's still a fun time. It's no Game Boy, I'll tell you that much. And then, of course, next up you had Ultimate Ghosts and Goblins. Now, Ultimate Ghosts and Goblins was a PSP exclusive game, and it's sort of a resurrection of this series in 2005, I believe. This game had been sitting in hiatus for since the 90s, so it was a big deal for it to suddenly get, you know, a sequel. And this game served as something of a finale to the games where Princess Prin gets her ass kidnapped again and again and again. This being, of course, the 5th time in a row. And this would be the final time, as we see that this is, in the ending, this is pretty much, you know, a finale to that, you know, subplot. However, that doesn't mean the series with Night Arthur is over. No, see, we would get 2 more mobile games also that was initially intended to be a trilogy called Ghosts and Goblins Gold Knights. Now, Golden Knights was a fun little duology of games, but it ended with a cliffhanger in the second game, and we never got a third game, which was obviously intended. So, who the hell that silhouetted person is, I have no idea. If I had to venture a guess, maybe it would be Merlin. Also, on that note, Lancelot was introduced in as a playable character in Golden Knights 1, and Percival was introduced as a playable character in Golden Knights 2. Why do I think Merlin was a silhouetted person? Because it would explain a bit. Notably that, I think it's a theory right now. This isn't going to be this is going to be a complete tangent. But I do have a theory that Knights of the Round, another Capcom game, takes place in the distant future of this game when, when Knight Arthur finally becomes King Arthur, from Arthurian legend, pulls up Excalibur, all that good shit. You've heard this story 1,000 times by now, from everyone, so. But you know how that goes, and it's basically just a retelling of those events. But, for now, I'm setting that aside in its own separate continuity until we finally get, some answers that maybe tie this to that. Now then. But that's the end of the Knight Arthur timeline. However, next, we would get enough of that copy-pasted plot shit, and we'd actually get some original stories, and really good ones at that. With the Maximo trilogy. Well, it was going to be a trilogy. I'll explain in a moment. But, starring the new character many generations removed, Maximo. This appears to be during the time of, Roman Centurion-ish, Fantasyland, some stuff. Maximo himself is the emperor of an empire, obviously. It's kind of stupid when I say that out loud, but, anyway. Side note, before I get into this proper, there's an entire channel out there dedicated to preservation of Maximo content, and basically kind of a great community hub for the Maximo community. Yes, there's a Maximo community. There's a community for almost everything from Capcom and Sega. You'd be surprised. They just lack a sense of networking a lot of the time. Most communities in Sega and Capcom do. You'd be surprised. But if you do a little searching, you can find them. Like I have. But anyway, getting into the actual timeline. Maximo Ghosts to Glory. Now, these games are I probably should have started with. They're hack and slashers, cartoony too. They have a specific type of toon shading that would be borrowed from later on when Sega made what was going to be Sonic Synergy, but ended up being Sonic Boom. Remember Sonic Synergy? Oh man, that would have been amazing. But no, instead we get at this trash pile. And I'll go into why that happened in the first place one day, but definitely not today. This video is about Ghosts and Goblins, not Sonic Boom. But anyway. So, Sophia, turns out, is not Sophia in this game, Maximo's lover, Empress, or whatever the fuck you want to call her. And she's not here, so Maximo, together with the Grim fucking Reaper. Also, I forgot to mention, you make friends, Maximo makes friends, his best friends, best friends whatever, with the Grim Reaper, or Grim as he calls him. This is where their whole, origin story would start. I love that, I love their wholesome buddy dynamic. It's like, hey buddy, Sophia's not here. It's like, It's like, it feels sort of like, but I love how the two just kind of grow on each other as the series progresses. on that note, the next entry in the timeline is the Dreamwave comic, the single-issue one, titled Maximo, Beauty is Only Sword Deep. Now this game in particular was this comic in particular was a really fun one. I can't say the art was anything that outstanding, but it definitely was a good little comic. It was a fun one. Not too groundbreaking, not too, well written. Definitely not the most well-drawn thing I've ever seen. But it's a fun little comic that shows us more of Maximo and Grimm's relationship and their, endless hunt for Sophia. And how fruitless it is. It also shows them just kind of teaching this, kingdom to fend for itself. And I love that. I will say Maximo seems a little edgelord in this comic. He seems like a little bit of a different person. I don't know. Like, he seems a bit more on edge than he usually is. I don't know. But anyway. The next game in the timeline is Maximo versus the Army of Zin. This is the Army of Zin is a strange little clockwork robot army that has been sealed away since ancient times. Yeah, this feels uncharacteristic of the Ghosts and Goblins franchise, but you know what? I can dig it. I'm for it. I really loved especially just seeing more and more of, Maximo and Grimm's buddy dynamic. It's like, you're late, Grimm. It's just like, I always show up in the end. It's like, good times. The little one though. It's like, thanks, are you sure I'll be needing this? Just like, oh yeah, I'm sure you will. Like, I guarantee you will. Good times. But I also loved how, in that one intro cutscene, we got a nice little look into, Grimm's sense of actual, humanity, or, whatever you could consider that. He actually had a sense of empathy developed there for just like, who on earth would do such a thing? It's like, he actually sounds a little bit angry there. I loved it. I just love this whole game, but I just really love that intro animation especially. That was full of a lot of character, and I just really love that to death. But I also just love these games in particular. Highly recommend them, but if you're gonna play them, yeah, you're shit out of luck. They haven't been ported since the PS2. So if you want to play these games, go buy it for your PS2, goddammit. But anyway. Also, I forgot to mention, you could play as Grimm temporarily in this game. Yeah, using the currency that keeps you alive in the first game, but in this game you could just kind of switch out with him using death coins. And yeah, it was temporary, but it was fun to play as the Grim Reaper. Also, Maximo 3. Now this game was curious. A curious little oddity. This game was never released. Alright? I'm just gonna flat out say it. See, what happened was, well, I don't know. Capcom in the 2010s all of a sudden decided that a lot of their franchises they don't care for anymore. I don't know if they got a new CEO or something, and maybe he started running the company into the ground, like what happened with Hisao Okawa. But I don't know. Something stinks about all that mismanagement ever since 2010. Capcom's felt like a completely different company ever since then, and I don't like it. But that's enough of my, speculation for now. I will say that Maximo 3 looked like it was going to be an absolutely groundbreaking idea. Open world gameplay on the PS2. Like, that would have been incredible. Not only that, but this was the first time in the series you could actually use guns. Judging from the beta footage, which, of course, the channel Maximo Capcom has so graciously preserved for everyone to see. So if you're interested, go look up their channel and look up Maximo 3. Like, there's a nice little trailer of it, 4 minutes-ish long in length. And, yeah. These guys have been Maximo Capcom has been immensely helpful for preservation materials when it comes to Maximo, for my timeline playlist, which I'm sure none of you are going to watch, which is why these videos are being made in the first instance, which still annoys me, but oh well. Anyway. I will say I really very much, I love a lot of things about Maximo. But, Maximo 3 really looks like it was going to break the mold, but they just didn't, do it. Oh well. If you're a Mega Man fan, specifically Mega Man Legends, this story might sound familiar to you. Mega Man Legends 3. But, yeah, I don't know, just the whole timing of everything doesn't add up. But anyway. So yeah, that's the Maximo timeline explained. That's the Ghosts and Goblins timeline explained. Before I actually sign off though, I want to do a quick check into the non-canon games, because there are a few of them. Well, not a few, definitely not nearly as many as Wonder Boy has, but there are still a few. So if you've never played Author to Astaroth no Nazoma Chimera, which is, Incredible Tunes, I don't know if you've ever played these games, but, if you have, well, good on you. They were Sega Saturn and PlayStation 1 exclusive games. Were basically the puzzle games. It did have this plot about Princess Primrose being kidnapped, but it's not canon. It just simply doesn't fit. But, in addition, there's that Chucker Medallion game I mentioned earlier. Called Geki Chimera. But, yeah. Geki Chimera was basically a little Chucker game. And also, lastly, there was Puzzles, Ghosts and Goblins, Puzzle, Ghosts and Goblins Revenge, and Puzzle, Ghosts and Goblins Final. 3 little mobile flash games, that I could only find footage of one of these 3 games out there, but, yeah, they're listed on the non-canon, playlist as well. But that's all the non-canon games, actually. That's it. We're done. And, yeah. With that being said, that's the Ghosts and Goblins timeline explained. I hope I did it justice, because, like I've mentioned before, this series really wasn't the kind of main source of inspiration, specifically the Knight Arthur games, for Wonder Boy initially. So I think, and I'm sorry that the video didn't last as long, but the lore is extremely simple and easy to understand compared to Wonder Boy. So it didn't need to be like a nearly 2.5 hour long video. Instead, it needed to be like about 30 minutes, give or take. So, yeah. But this is, yeah. Ooh. This is Jack Morton the Sega fan, signing off.